Hello, this is Chris Griffith from The Australian. And Asus, the Taiwanese manufacturer, have got a habit these days of bringing out unusual devices, almost a little eccentric. We saw that big tablet device in the all-in-one computer. Now we have the phone pad. Now, believe it or not, this is a 7-inch tablet device that has a SIM card in for making phone calls. So in theory, you could put this to your ear and call with it. It looks a bit strange, it's not very stable to do. In fact, it's not a really good idea at all. So what is Asus on about? Well, looking at it slightly differently, what you've got here is a really good 7-inch tablet. Of course, you can make calls with it. The best way would be to put the tablet down on the table in front of you and use a Bluetooth headset, or you can look at it and it has a front-facing camera and you can do video calls on Skype, for example. I think for its price, and it's a pretty cheap tablet device, it's $329 for an 8GB model. It's not bad value at all. It's nicely finished. It's got this lovely aluminium style case. It has a top that you can peel off to put in your SIM card, and it fits also a micro SD card, so you can expand the memory, or storage rather, on this that's available. The interesting thing about this device is that Asus last year also brought out a tablet very close to this called the Nexus 7. It was a Google sponsored device. It has a lot in common with it. It has the same screen dimensions, it has the same 221 pixels per inch resolution, it weighs about the same 340 grams, and virtually the same dimensions as well. So what Asus have done is they've got that device which didn't have a back facing camera, and they've added a back facing camera, 3 megapixels, plus the SIM card and SD card functionality. They've also changed the processor from an NVIDIA Tegra quad-core processor to an Intel Atom single-core processor. Now, I was wondering if this processor would be slow. It's actually pretty good, really, for the specs. It's reasonably quick, and probably 12 months ago, you would have thought that this is a pretty good device. Well, it still is in many ways. Asus also brought a few apps to this device. There's one that's splendidly called Splendid, which is a little app for actually managing the display and the colors, etc. on it. There's a really useful app called App Locker, which allows you to password protect a number of the applications on your device. Asus has already added as well a fourth soft button. So if you look down the bottom of the device, you'll see there's the normal third one, which brings up the apps if you have apps there, and a fourth one which you can use for overlaying apps on top of other apps. So you can have an app running, say like email, for example, and you can then play a video in a little box over the top of that. Now, they're not the first to do that. We've seen that with Samsung, we've seen it with Huawei, for example, but it's pretty good functionality. They also have an app to allow you to write with your finger. There's no stylus on this device. Overall, I think this is a pretty solid tablet for its price, $329 for 8GB or $399 for a 16GB storage version. It's really good value, particularly that you can add an SD card, particularly you can have a SIM card in. If you don't use it for calling, you can certainly use it for data, for accessing the web on the go. So it's a little eccentric, but if you don't want to put it in your pocket, you don't want to put it to your ear, it's a pretty good device. This is Chris Griffith from The Australian.